This right back, Charlie, definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on.
There's always just that active red line defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in, Arsenal fans. Hope everybody's well, everybody's doing well and safe. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe your thoughts throughout everything discussed, and appreciative to all my long-term viewers. Now I'm pretty sure, like us Arsenal fans alike, we're still trolling our Liverpool supporting friends. It's very rare that we get one over them, but to have 4 points off them this season and beat Manchester City is dreamland. Obviously, hopefully that correlates with winning a trophy. Whether that happens, I'm very pessimistic. I don't know. That being said, we know the transfer window is closed, but that doesn't mean we're not going to hear Arsenal-related news. So let's simply see what's going on in terms of the tabloids and all of those things. I don't know why it's not. Okay, cool. I don't know why it wasn't letting me share my screen initially. I thought there was technical difficulties. But yeah, as I said, like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bells. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the other vids. Ivan Toney's a man that probably will depart Brentford, and he's been linked with Arsenal and Chelsea primarily. Little isms and schisms in relation to Man United. We all know he's changed agents. He's got 18 months left on his deal. He's back from his ban. And, there isn't really, to us normal football fans, a whole bunch of strikers you could look at, and while every striker carries a risk and go, yeah, they will make our club better. Ivan Toney does seem like he could do that for Arsenal, and he seems like, quote unquote, one of the more attainable players, because he's made it clear he wants to move on in any interview he does. He's got 18 months left on his deal, got new agent, and, probably, Brentford said, forget January. We stood behind you with all of this ban stuff. Help us stay in the Premier League, because Brentford are in a relegation battle, unfortunately, because I like them. And then in the summer, whatever you want to do. Thomas Frank has said he's likely to be sold. Brentford boss Thomas Frank has confirmed Ivan Toney will most likely be sold in the summer. As you know, he's back playing from an 8th-month betting ban, and you can see with every game he's played so far, the fans of the opposite team chanting such. He is attracting interest from Arsenal and Chelsea, much like Victor Oshimen. The striker will have just 1 year left on his contract at the end of the season, and Frank has admitted he's likely to leave. I still think all options are on the table. Maybe he signs a new contract with a release clause. I don't quite buy this, but in theory, he could run down his deal at Brentford and then become a free agent. What's probably more likely is he departs the club. And, I don't know how much Ivan Toney is rated at. Clearly, they priced him out of a move in January. They were saying 80, 100 million because they don't want to sell him. In the summer, I would rank him at about 50, 60, all the way up to 80 odd million pounds. They're going to make a handsome profit. But he has got a year left on his deal, and clubs might not reckon his market value. And they're probably going to rely on Ivan Toney to do his part to angle for a move, which Brentford's negotiating position is weak, and he's got a year left. The longer you mess around with selling him, the longer it takes for you lot to bring in replacements. And Brentford have shown they can do this thing where it comes to strikers. I'm sure Neil Maupay was at Brentford before it. He's gone back there. I'm sure he was there. Ben Rama's a winger, but he was sold. They've got Weeson and Buemo. Good scouting. Got Ivan Toney from Peterborough. It is what it is. I'm having Toney, Premier League proven captain for Brentford, so he's got that mentality. I think he's got that positive chip on his shoulder, and I like him a lot. He wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. I want the Osimhens and people like that, but Ivan Toney, if we get him, I'm laughing, people. Apparently, Thomas Frank has admitted he is likely to leave. Brentford apparently received no approaches for the striker during last month's transfer window, but are expecting plenty of interest in the summer. Now, there was a couple of movements in the summer with some clubs. Spurs made a couple of signings, but 9 times out of 10, when you was reading the reports in January, you kept hearing clubs really, FFP, and there's not value in the market and things. And I think that is said for everybody. We knew Arsenal weren't going to move for a striker because we were told we had no money. And where Chelsea are concerned, we was briefed by the Romanos and them people that it wasn't going to be a thing there. So yeah, for what's been publicized. If there's no offers, then there's nothing for Brentford to discuss. Everybody's interested in everyone, essentially, people. So yeah, they received no interest, but are expecting plenty of interest in the summer. And you look at it, Chelsea could go, you know, Ivan Toney, there's logic there. There's logic with Arsenal. There's logic with Manchester United signing a more experienced striker to ease the burden on Højlund. Spurs haven't exactly replaced Harry Kane, and there's probably a couple of others. He actually hasn't ruled out a move abroad, but I don't think that will be the case for Ivan Toney. A new striker is one of Arsenal's priorities this summer, while Chelsea are also looking to bolster their forward line. Thomas Frank has insisted Toney will not come cheap, though, stressing the Bees know what he's worth. It's quite obvious that Ivan Toney will most likely be sold in the summer. Apparently, he's said to have told a Danish magazine. It can be expensive to sell your best player, but on the other hand, I also know that by summer, he'll only have a year left on his contract with us. We also know what he's worth. I don't think there are many strikers in the world who are better than him right now. And he's previously said, apart from Harry Kane, Ivan Toney's up there, and Haaland. He's a really good striker who's in his prime footballing age. Personally, as a coach, I would prefer to keep Toney, but one day it could be fun to see him at a top club. Let him come to Arsenal. You know, we owe you 27 million for Raya, so you know how we maneuver. Might even throw Eddie Nketiah or something in there. This winter, we actually had no bids for him, but it would surprise me if there aren't a lot of clubs interested in him. So let me know your thoughts on Ivan Toney. We've gone over Ivan Toney. I don't know why I've got them reports there. Zubimendi is a player that's been linked with Arsenal for the best part of 18 months, aggressively linked in January. And as we move towards the summer, being linked with a move to Arsenal and aiding, you know, sorting out our midfield and having that long-term partner for Declan Rice or a long-term option in midfield. Apparently, Romano has said Martin Zubimendi is on Arsenal, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich's list for the summer. At the moment, there's nothing more than this, as Zubimendi only wants to focus on Real Sociedad and he loves his club. He is fully focused on La Liga and the Champions League with no distraction at all. It will take time. There is nothing for February or March, despite some talk that Arsenal have already been laying the groundwork for this deal. Well, Brentford announced the signing of, that Ghanaian lad, the winger, I forgot his name. So things can get tied up, and he's got a 60-odd million release clause. Pay the money, let's get him done, people. But now's not the time for negotiations. Maybe indirect conversations with agents and clubs, but in terms of dotting the I's and crossing the T's and paperwork, seasons are going on, and rightly so. Zubimendi probably, you playing a football match isn't necessarily going to distract you, but it's a lot of noise. You want to focus on whatever you're doing for Sociedad, and they're still in the Champions League. So, yeah, people, we all know we need to bring in a midfielder. You know, there's rumors. There's always going to be rumors about Jorginho leaving with his performance against Liverpool. Maybe the club say, you know what, El Nene, you can leave. Partey, we want to shift your wages off the wage bill. Jorginho will give you a 1-year extension. You bring in a Zubimendi and someone else. We keep it moving. Summer, in my opinion, if you can get it done for less, and we don't know the profiles that Arsenal want, but for me, you're looking at around, as an honest football fan, normal football fan, that's not a fly on the wall in London Coley or whatever we renamed our training ground. Surely it's about 200-odd million quid. I don't expect us to do everything. For instance, you know, a striker could be anything from 60 to 100-odd million, depending on the target, people. And I would like to bring in a winger as well. Pedro Neto would be good, but maybe the club, and Jesus' injuries are one thing, but maybe the club say, you know what, Jesus can play out wide. We bring in a striker. We don't really need to bring in a winger and a striker, but, you know, if it was up to me, you get a winger, that's about 60-odd million quid, give or take. Strikers all the way from, 60 million to 100. Central midfield, you activate Zubimendi's cost clause, that's 60 million euros, so that's 50-odd million quid. If you could get a cut price, another midfielder, that'd be good for me. And I think we could do with another Timber Tomiyasu versatile attacker. And then obviously we probably need to bring in a number 2 goalie if and when Ramsdale is going to leave. And then it's a case of outgoings. Speculation is going to, persist with the Reece Nelsons and Nketiahs, Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, actually Jorginho, El Nene, and plenty of other players that I probably haven't even mentioned. Whether we're able to sell them or sell them for decent fees is a completely other thing. But brings Zubimendi to the carpet. Big up Timber. He's making his return, bit by bit. There has been some reports he's set in the next few weeks to join full training. Some of you would have seen online the 22-year-old now, summer edition, has been named in our Champions League squad. So there is some hope that maybe he could play against Porto across the 2 legs, or if we go further in the competition, do his thing there, people. Arsenal apparently are more likely to sign Ivan Toney than Napoli superstar Victor Oshimen at the end of the season, according to reports. I hear that. You know, he's got a price tag of 112 million on his head. Allegedly, Chelsea are leading the race. I think he goes to Chelsea, but every day it's Chelsea leading the race, then Arsenal, then this and that. And the Napoli president has said he will go to a top Premier League team or a big club away from Italy. According to transfer journalist Dean Jones, he said, it's a lot of money. I'd be flabbergasted if Arsenal exceeded the amount of money they spent on Declan Rice. And that's probably what it's going to take to sign Osimhen. I mean, if the player convinces Arsenal to that, then obviously, you know, we haven't got a bottomless pit of money. But Arsenal have shown with Declan Rice and even with Kai Havertz, which is a different one, that if they truly believe in a player, they'll put the outlay. You know, really, it's never great to go head-to-head with Chelsea on a signing, and that makes me feel like Arsenal might end up coming away from it. If he signs for Chelsea, then I hope he ends up like Osimhen currently is, and Lavia and Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez and struggling. No offense, Chelsea fans, the game is the game. There are other players out there that I think could fit the bill. Even though Ivan Toney, though, is being played down to me, people say inside the club that Toney's not on the radar. That's in relation to Chelsea. We'll have to wait and see about that because I have heard otherwise, but certainly Arsenal are going to be in the market for a player of that level. Again, Ivan Toney, he might be, you know what, you're angling for a move. Let's just go for you. But I think Chelsea and Arsenal and all these clubs, they'll go for the Osimhens and people of that ilk. Then if they can't get that, they'll look at the maybe Ivan Ferguson, who's going to cost a lot of money from Brighton, the Sescos, the Ivan Tonys, maybe even Vlahovic with what's going on at Juventus. I'm not sure, people. So make of that what you will, people. We've already covered that. So, yeah, apparently Arsenal are entering the race for Everton's star Onana after Newcastle are moving for him. We've heard that before. He's another midfielder that if it's not Douglas Luiz or Zubimendi, he finds his name into it. I'm a big fan of RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko, 9 goals from 26 games, and I think he's struggling. AC Milan apparently have offered 40 million euros. Chelsea apparently are monitoring developments, people. So that's why this article's there. And, you know, there's every logic with Chelsea buying a development striker like Sesko and a ready-made guy like Osimhen. You sell Broja. Obviously, and Nkunku can play up front as well as other areas. But I think Benjamin Sesko is one I'll be watching closely. Again, in relation to Joshua Zirkzee, it seems like Manchester United are the front runners, although AC Milan and a return to Bayern Munich haven't been ruled out. He's a player we was linked with in January. Marquinhos hasn't technically departed on loan yet, people. Again, apparently he could be going to Fluminense. Hopefully he does well and can get sold for a profit, essentially, people. Again, as I said, conflicting reports, because this article says Arsenal are now thought to be leading the race to sign Victor Oshimen in the summer ahead of Man United and Chelsea, according to a report from Spain. Now, I know our manager's Spanish, but a report coming out of Spain talking about a Nigerian international who plays in Italy and the transfer movements of a British club. Football is universal and it doesn't matter where the info comes from, but is it credible? I'm not sure, people. Of course, with no official offers having been submitted as of yet, nothing is finalized. Arsenal's need for a new central forward is becoming more and more prominent as Arteta begins to lose confidence in Eddie Nketiah, and Jesus' injury record becomes very spotty. Again, yeah, it is quite misleading. Tomiyasu set to sign a new deal, as we already know. So it all depends where you read. Again, Partey has been linked with a departure this summer. Apparently, Arsenal are keen to offload him in the summer after persistent injuries this season. Much has been the theme for him. Chiesa could leave Juventus this summer, you know, if he doesn't sign a new deal. I know he's someone keeping up the theme with injuries, but he's a player that Arsene Wenger tried to sign from Fiorentina, and he can play as a false nine as well as either flank, and he's a bloody good footballer. So there's no real need for me to mention this, but I'm having him if it's going, really. Tomiyasu apparently has agreed a new contract with Arsenal, and naturally he's set for a major increase on his 55 grand a week salary, people, which is well deserved. Koza Dewberry still hasn't signed a new deal for Arsenal. Romano says we're still in negotiations, and he has interest from Dortmund, Ajax, Anderlecht, Wolves, and Newcastle in case he leaves on a free transfer, which is crazy. And, you know, he'd be a gem for either one of them. We all know that Jorginho has a 1-year extension clause in his deal, but Romano has said the option to extend Jorginho's contract for 1 more year is still valid, and it will be available until the end of the season for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta is really happy with his performances, and I feel how he is off the field and how he is in and around the rest of the lads, and the experience and transferable experience he can, and lessons in football he can give to his younger teammates. Timber, as I said, has been included amongst Arsenal squad for the knockout stages. challenges, and he's set to rejoin training allegedly in the coming weeks. Again, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And indirectly, Mikel Arteta is still consistently linked with Barcelona, people. So that's everything. You know, let me know your thoughts on Osimhen, on Ivan Toney, on, you know, everything really and truly. Which one would you prefer? Would you go for Chiesa? Do you think Mikel Arteta should get a new deal, or would you let him go to Barcelona? And everything Arsenal. Check out the rest of the videos, people. At this point, I'm sure I would have done AFCON watch-alongs or been in the process of doing such. I did an Arsenal fan show. Shout out to Sammy and Tariq as well, because we spoke Jesus' injuries, parties, if we're in a title challenge, etc., etc. And if you're paying attention to this video, shout out my people that are working but just listening to my voice, you would have seen numerous hyperlinks pop up. So yeah, don't get away without commenting. Please make sure you're subscribing and liking. Engage with the content. Journey to 70k subs is alive and kicking. Most importantly, thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts. Stay safe, stay blessed. We'll link up again soon. Peace.
He always just that active red flag, defending. I think it's like